guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are talking about what is currently happening with the potential escalation of the nuclear attack. I've been putting this off video for ages, but you've been emailing, you've been messaging and saying why have I not done this video, and well, to be fair, I've just been putting it off because it's not something I really like to discuss. I'm not having my hand in the sand, but just not something, not particularly the video I wanted to basically get it out there because there's so many of them there already. However, you've been asking, so there it comes, and it's a good time to do it. So I'm probably going to do a slightly bit or say a different take on the whole situation, maybe a little bit, maybe more, not saying sensible thing, it's just a bit less panicky approach potentially anyway. So here it goes. You all read the news, okay, and you've probably seen this on the many videos that WHO warning and encouraging all the countries to stock up on medication in amid of the nuclear attack. Well, the first thing crossed my mind, of course, it is for the governments and basically stocking up on, because there's many different medications apparently as to anti-radiation. However, for an average folk, we're not really going to get to see any of those medications delivered to ourselves. It's literally in our hands. And all we have to have, guys, is just one option, is the potassium iodide that we can buy anyway. So we're moving on, we'll come back to this thing a little bit later on. So basically, it's everywhere. And it's like, oh my God, this is happening because, you know, you've got the Russian ships everywhere with missiles, and they're surrounded the US and surrounded, you know, anything basically. The whole list, I've been doing this research for a really long time, and I have some information as well. And the fact is, to what apparently is happening, yes, there is missile ships around, nuclear ships around America, there is submarines around, but they do this all the time, and they have a training missions like we have training missions around, and the ships and submarines, including the ones that have Poseidon on a board, actually sail and swim through the world, around the world all the time. So yes, they are there parked outside. Apparently is a mission, just a training mission. However, of course, there could be underlying thing there is all we know where it's potentially heading to. However, if you understand, we all understand, sorry, the whole idea of the nuclear war. And even Mr. Big P himself says that in a nuclear war, nobody wins. So technically creating a nuclear war means the whole world is going to go to shit. Oh, sorry, I actually speak French. Sorry, pardon me. But anyway, so basically, that's the point. So nobody's going to win there. So I would assume there's a common sense prevail in many of the countries, and including him, that we're not really going to get to the stage when we have to deploy the nuclear weapons. However, of course, a lot of that thing depends on the other involving parties. If you continuously poke the bear, or like, for example, you get the snake in a corner, the snake will bite. So if we potentially just ease off or find a different means of, do you see what I'm saying? I don't want to get political. However, it all depends more so not on him, but it depends more on other countries making a decision for him by doing other things they shouldn't be doing. So there we have it. Anyway, I'm going to leave this at that, okay? Because it's not really the whole idea of the whole video. We all understand, guys, with the nuclear weapons, unless the nuclear weapon hits like a nuclear power station, of course, that's a different matter. It's a general nuclear weapon. Say if it hits London, again, guys, you can have a look online. There's many maps. There are many things they will tell you. You can lose, well, we will lose many millions of people. So depending on the strength of the bomb, of course, you can lose anything from 5 to 6 million people died plus the injuries to a little bit less. However, you can imagine the whole impact it's going to have on the country. I've done a video before, okay? As the UK, we're solely dependent 48% of self-sufficiency. So if, God forbid, anything like this happens, well, there's going to be no imports, there's going to be trouble, and there's going to be mass panic. But it brings me on to the fact again, and many of you guys have been getting in touch and saying, well, have you not had any leaflets from our government? Well, no, we haven't. So why is government leaving this so late and not telling us this information out there, how to prepare for nuclear war or for nuclear attack? But in many countries, yes, people had the little leaflets before it's too late, so people can actually grasp and get their head around to what it is you got to do. So in UK, we haven't had, yes, there's information on government website what to do, but I think we ought to be told. People need to be told, because unless you're forever watching the news and following what's happening, half of the people are just none the wiser. So I'm just going around to the shop today and I'm just looking around at people and I think, do you know what, you poor They don't have a bloody clue what's actually happening in the world. And that's the big problem, because if anything happens or bound to happen, the government's not going to say, do you know what, in 2 weeks you're going to have a missile hitting, and basically ruining half of the country. It's not going to happen. We're going to have a couple of hours warning, probably, if that, unless you follow the news and things that are happening yourself. Then you might obviously be a few steps ahead. But for all these people, they're going to have a 2 hours notice or whatever notice you're going to get. There's not enough to do anything whatsoever. There's just not enough time to prepare, not at all to get your head round to what is potentially about to hit you. So this is really important, and I think the government should really kind of pull the finger out and actually get some sort of a gentle push or gentle information to just tell people how to deal with the whole situation. Okay, so basically sorry, I'm going to look up on my little thing what else I was going to mention to you guys. So I mentioned obviously the imports and the things, how we're going to suffer. Government's not helping, and of course they're not really going to help. If at all, we might not get any warning at all. With the nuclear explosion, guys, again, I don't want to get into details. You can research. It's really complex because obviously the multiple radiations, there is a nuclear fallout. But generally, as a thing, you will get your first couple of hours, which is the most radioactive, of course, after the blast have passed, is the most radioactive time. So generally the suggestion is to obviously hide in a bunker. Well, for us people in UK, half of you are in UK, half of you in America and the rest of the world. We don't have, you might be lucky enough you have a bunker. If you have a land, you can buy bunkers now. It's a really popular business right now, apparently, to buy bunkers and build them under the ground. I would love one. I don't have a land to do it, nor do I have like 50 grand, whatever, it's 100 grand to buy one. However, at the same time, some people do have cellars, and this is apparently a really good place to obviously build and shelter yourself. But as an average person like ourselves, we have a house, but we don't have a cellar, nor do we have a space for a bunker, so we're kind of a little bit stuffed. And I'm like, okay, and I was talking to my husband, I think, well, obviously we're going to feel like we need to do something, because things are happening, and I want to be optimistic, guys. I really do want to be optimistic, because I don't think the world should come to this, because it kind of ruins the whole idea of the elite have the whole new order thing, because it's all just going to go down to shit again, and there'll be no point. Whatever they're planning to do is going to make no difference, because it wouldn't matter anymore. And like people, I read that people say, oh yeah, what's the safest place? Safest place is in Devon. There's no safe place. If Russia decided to want to wipe out our little island, they will send the Poseidon missile through, which is it lives in a submarine, they send it over, and it's basically a nuclear weapon that goes on the ground and literally creates a massive radioactive tsunami and literally wipe the whole island. So if they wanted to, they can do this anytime. So there's no preparing for that kind of thing. So, but if we're talking about, if we get caught in a crossfire, like, the safe place in Devon or whatever people are suggesting, there is not going to be a safe place, guys, because you will never know. Is when we already see the missiles, like when, the current conflict, things that are just falling in the different places and they're targeting certain things. So technically, it could happen anywhere. In the world, whatever the war is going to be happening between, all those involved countries, we're right slap bang in the middle. So chances are, something could just fall, not necessarily nuclear, but it could fall somewhere in the middle of bloody Devon, and nobody will know, and nobody can predict that. So my point is, guys, what we're doing, what I'm doing for this, and as I said, I'm trying to be optimistic, but at the same time, I'm trying to be realistic. I think when you think if a big thing happens and you think it's going to literally wipe out half of the island, and then we can really barely survive, because unless you can live somewhere for 5 years, because the land is actually contaminated, again, all depends on the strength of the bomb, between 1 and 5 years. And like Chernobyl, we're talking about, they're still 30 plus years old and they still got really high radiation levels. So unless you can hide yourself in a bunker for 5 years after a massive event, and you have enough food and then enough seeds to come up and start growing, then you might be okay. Generally, it's not going to be quite okay. But we are hoping for none of this whatsoever, or for a tiny little impact if it is to affect the country. So what we're doing basically, sorry, so I lost my train, and I was talking to my husband, I'm thinking, actually, we're going to, just to speed up the process, we don't have a bunker, so I can't worry about this. Do you know what I mean? Don't sweat the big stuff. If you can't have it, you can't control certain things, so let's not worry about things that we can't help, but just do a little bit. I think in the event when things are happening, I think if you don't do anything because you think, well, what's the point, because it's all going to be, it's all going to be trouble and SHTF situation, we can't survive anyway, what's the point? I bet you bottom dollar, when God forbid that happens or be very near happening, you'd be kicking yourself, because as a humans, we've got this little thing built into us as a self-preservation. So if you don't do anything now, when the shit happens, you'll be panicking and the self-preservation will kick in. You wouldn't care what the future will hold, like 5-10 years down the line, or even a year down the line. You would just want to survive the whole ordeal and make sure that you have something that will make you feel better. So I'm not necessarily saying the things that I'm doing going to save my life or my family's life, because we don't know. We don't know many aspects of the wind direction, the strength of the bomb, many things. However, I want to have some things there ready, basically just in case, because then if the situation occurs, at least I feel like I've done the best I can, rather than sort of panicking and thinking, you know what, I wish I did it. So anyway, I'm just going to mention, guys, I'm not in any way like an expert of the whole nuclear thing, right? I've done extensive research, so I have an understanding. I have understanding of missiles. I researched a lot of things, so I kind of roughly understand how this whole thing works. But of course, I'm not a specialist, so I'm, as a general, just an average person who is a prepper. The things that I'm doing is, first things, I've bought some Tyvek category 3 hazardous suits. This is just in case, guys, right? When we stay in, so the suggestion is, if you haven't looked online, if you wanted to, it's up to you. There's a lot of them information available. Is to basically create a room, okay? Create a room in your house that has very little outside walls and very little windows. So basically, if you're on the middle floor, you select a middle floor. You block your windows, and again, you need to have something like 2 to 4 milliliters with plastic, like plastic sheeting. You tape it up. You basically make your room pretty much airtight. So if you've got the bathroom in your room or whatever, guys, whatever the room that you choose, any area that you have access to the outside with air, like your sink, your tub, your toilet, the extractor fan, everything will take and pull the radiation through. So you want to block absolutely everything. So the ideal scenario is to pick the room that is kind of in the middle of the house, or underground better, and has very little windows, or we have to block them, basically block them off. So pick a room, and if you have ability, if you have a spare room, then act accordingly. So we are gonna, again, I'll come back to this later. But anyway, the other thing that is a suggestion that goes online is you make the internal shelter within the room for the first 2 days. And for us, it's extremely hard, because obviously we have a child. So there's no way I can put a tent, not a tent, but the thing is made with the furniture, mattresses, whatever, guys, have a look. But it's very hard to make a child sit still for somewhere for like not 2 hours, not at all for 2 weeks. So it's kind of difficult. But basically the idea is you have a room, and if you are just in the house, and you create another little enclosure of the stuff that basically the stop radiation getting to you for the first couple hours and then a couple of days. So again, all depending, the radiation could linger for 2 to 3 weeks outside. So if you could, and my idea is to be able to have enough things to survive for 2 to 3 weeks in the room that you choose to be your fallout room. So, come back to this again. So we bought, yes, the category 3, the protection. So if you have to leave the room, or afterwards when you have to leave the house for whatever reason, they are kind of suits that you wear once, you wear outside, you do what you have to do, you come back and you throw them away. You have to wear the suits, you have to wear the gloves. Unfortunately, so far I only found the category 2 protection gloves. None of this stuff is cheap, unfortunately, but obviously with the safety comes the price. So you have to wear your clothing, you have to wear the protective gear over the top, wear gloves, whatever shoes you wear. We also have the overshoes, which is just a thin plastic bag stuff, and then of course you got to tape this all up to your basic areas where you put the gloves or your shoes. You got to tape it up with the duct tape to make sure. This is if you guys have to venture out. And of course, a very important thing is to have a Geiger counter, which we haven't bought yet, but it is on our list to buy, and the gas mask. And to be fair, we wanted to buy a gas mask for ages, and they are absolutely ridiculous price when I had them. And you're pretty lucky to probably find some now, and even though you probably be even higher price. So, but again, this is not like a necessity. Do you know, the main thing, guys, is to buy something to barricade your windows and doors from, obviously, from the radiation. And as I said, the acceptable thickness of a plastic to literally cover your windows and your doors is between 2 to 4 milliliters thick, and then you tape this up with the duct tape and give you bare minimum. We've got some of the foil blankets. Yes, they do reflect certain rays, but they won't do the gamma rays radiation. However, they're a good thing to have for the warmth anyway. So we have a plan of taping our windows with the insulation, not taping, sorry, but you can buy really thick insulation thing, which is foil backed. So we're going to pick a room and we're going to put the foil back insulation into the windows. I'm going to tape it up and then we'll cover it with plastic and cover it with the foil blankets as well. So we're just going to basically literally find the room and we're going to just kit it out for that kind of scenario, because as I said to you guys, the timing we're going to have is going to be very little. And just even thinking of putting a plastic around your window or around your door frames, if you have 2 hours to do this, you'd be like panicking, you'd be huffing and puffing, and the time will just fly by and you won't. So the whole idea is, guys, is to have it ready. Like, you can put a cardboard with a foil inside and tape it, but have this pre-cut, put this like behind a wardrobe, have this somewhere that it's already done. So God, if you only have like 2 hours or less, you at least have a chance to do something and have a plan, know the room you're going to go in, find the place and decide, so you or your family knows where it is you're going to go and what it is you're going to do. Okay, I have the gloves in here as well. It depends, guys, depends what you can find, but of course something's better than nothing. But in some instances, when it comes to radiation, some things are just pointless. So do your research, make sure that you buy certain things that are actually specifically able to shelter you from some radiation. Right. Another thing that's been, when it comes down to actually now past the situation, and we obviously got through the situation, the suggested thing, guys, is to take the potassium iodide tablets or liquid form. There is a little bit of misconception I can see online already that people say, no, it's iodine, you take iodine tablets. You don't take iodine tablet, you take potassium iodide. Yes, it's derived from iodine, but it's a salt that is derived from the iodine and has an additional of the potassium atom basically adjacent together. The potassium makes the iodine easily absorbed by the body. And the whole scenario of we need to take this potassium iodide before the scenario hits. So basically what that does, the potassium iodide, it gets basically your thyroid gland gets filled with the, I call it a good potassium iodide. So when the radiation is up in the air, your bad iodine, radioactive iodine, can't get in your thyroid gland. So this is basically kind of saves your thyroid gland from basically becoming cancerous. You have to take this before the impact, and then you have to take this for about 10 to 14 days after, depending, apparently government to tell us on, the severity and how long it's got to do. But the main point is you have to make sure you know where it is. So if the time hits, you got to take this before the radiation gets to you, and make sure it is a potassium iodide, not iodine. It's very important. There's options, guys, option of tablets and options of liquid. I've been researching them on Amazon because generally this is where we go in UK to look for stuff like this. And there's a lot of potassium iodide tablets in there. You got to be very, very careful, because I almost bought one because it said the recommended dose is 130 milligrams for an adult and 65 milligrams for a child. So many tablets that Amazon sell, it says it got 65 milligrams. You assume you have to take 2, but then you read on the packet and it said there you're only allowed to take 1 because of this is from the labeling on the product. So I looked at all 4 that were available on Amazon, and they all had contradictory information about how many tablets you take and basically the amount you will get from that. So to me, alarm bells rang. If you create a tablet and you can't even get this right on the label, how much people take or what is the recommended dose, then I shouldn't be buying that. So I haven't. So I've bought, and I put the link downstairs. I don't know whether they still have them or not. It's a liquid potassium iodide, which is the same thing, just in a liquid form. It's far cheaper in terms of per what you get in. I paid £17.99. I get 100 millilitres, and we only need to take 2 milliliter each for an adult and 1 milliliter for child, and it gives us 150 milligrams of iodide, potassium iodide, as a portion for an adult. You have to add the sauna to the water or juice, because apparently you have side effects of upset stomach or sickness, diarrhea, nausea, that kind of thing, and many people are actually allergic to iodide altogether. So it's something really to bear in mind, guys, okay? And basically, other thing that I read, and one of my viewers suggested, you know who you are as well, is apparently the magnesium flakes, magnesium salt is really good of drawing the radiation from the skin. Here we go. I appreciate you're not going to sit yourself and soak yourself in a bath after the bomb hit, but to be fair, if you feel like you've been exposed to a lot of the radiation using your Geiger counter, then I will soak myself in a swamp with the salt if I have to, just to be able to make sure you do your best to get rid of what it is there. Whether it's true, works or not, I don't know, and God forbid I never have to find out, but I read this and I have it just in case. Wine, apparently there is something in red wine that is meant to basically attract radioactive parts, and you're meant to pee them out. And the same thing is apparently in apple juice is meant to be good for the after radiation and before. So again, how much is the research out there, guys? There's articles out there. I don't know how true they are, and I hope I never have to find out. But apple juice at the moment is cheap-ish. However, I've been struggling to find some, so there we are. A proper juice, not the juice drinks, but actually juice. So it's a little bit of struggle sometimes. So at the moment, I just got some, and obviously I have a lot of wine anyway, so I'm choose to have this. Again, lifestyle or not, is something that will make me feel better if, God forbid, we have to deal with the situation. And I'm saying to you guys, you might think, oh my God, this is like, those gloves are rubbish, or the Tyvek stuff is rubbish, you need something else. But this is all we can get. And we all based our purchases on the research we do, what's available, and of course the price. There might be some, I don't know, radiation suit that might cost like 300 quid, but I can't afford one, so I'm not going to buy one, because I'm still hoping that this situation, it's not going to happen. But if it does, at least I can sleep at night, you know. I'm going to get the Geiger counter, absolutely. I'm going to keep an eye for the gas mask, just in case, anyway, in case I find one for a reasonable price. And of course, as well, guys, is to think about your electronics and potentially building a Faraday cage. Something that I'm going to do, but we're going to probably do it to our safe. Faraday cage is basically to protect your electronics from the EDM, which happens which part of the nuclear blast, which is basically electromagnetic field that will literally fry all the electrics. And you might think, oh yeah, it's okay, whatever, who needs a laptop at the end of the world, or blah blah blah. But we're talking about the LED torches, any lights, anything that's got electrons, your cars, your vehicles, everything could get absolutely fried. So the Faraday cage is something that basically is conductive box made of conductive material when they layer it with non-conductive material and hide your electronics. You can buy stuff on Amazon, but I pretty much strongly suggest not to without doing your own research and actually understanding what the cage will do comparing to the gimmicky thing that you buy on Amazon. So anyway, I'll probably do another video on that. If you do want for me to go into detail, just comment below and I'll find and we explain. Again, I've done a lot of research on that, so hopefully I have some knowledge on that to share with you if you wanted to. Anyway, hopefully, guys, I've covered basically what I wanted to cover. Again, what I don't want people to do is to panic. I want you to be prepared like we all do, and just don't rely on the government, because government is not going to be our friend. They're not going to be helping us with the tablets. Like if you think the government's talking up, we are just the bottom feeders there. We're not going to be anywhere near of help available to ourselves. So basically, yes, just keep strong. Let's just, before making any decisions and panicking about the nuclear stuff, just have a read around. Like I always tell you, I read around, I do my own research, and then I make my own assumptions. Just because somebody said, shit, we're all going to die tomorrow, just don't take this as gospel. Just do your own research, understand a bigger scenario before making your assumption, and just keep strong, keep prepping, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.